Welcome to Sunday Roast, where we talk everything related to cannabis. And I'm your host, JJ from Dawg Seeds. For those who don't know me, let me familiarize you with my brief bio. I got my start in the underground New York City cannabis scene in the mid 80s after experiencing the late 70s hippie pop culture in the beginning of the early 80s kind bud, Sensi bud culture. In 1992, in Central Park, I befriended a grower who would ultimately start an East Coast cannabis revolution with a strain called ChemDog. In the late 90s, I started growing, and by 2003, started experimenting with breeding my own seeds. The emergence of the internet gave me credibility on the site Overgrow, where shared my experiences with the ChemDog and Sour Diesel strains. I began selling seeds on IC Mag for seed credit, and my strain Stardog gained massive popularity. In 2011, Stardog won its first San Francisco High Times Cup. Following this success, Top Dog has been recognized worldwide with multiple awards for multiple seed strains and as the best of the best as the introduction into the High Times Hall of Fame. So I guess we'll start from the beginning with my experiences with cannabis. I first smoked probably when I was 12 or 13 in seventh grade, and I didn't really, experiment it, too much moving forward. A couple times in eighth grade, but once I hit high school, then it was everyday use, and that's really where I started. Back then, the prices were, we used to get dollar joints. Half ounces were $20, and ounces were $40. So, we would take our lunch money and pool it together, and we, get five joints or six joints, and we would, plan on smoking two in the morning, two at lunch, two after school or whatever. And so that was really, my experiences first, my first experiences. And it was mostly Mexican or Colombian brickweed. And probably the first really good weed I smoked was from I bought from a janitor in my school, and his name was Big John, and he was getting, I guess, weed from his brother in Harlem, and he used to sell me ounces for $50, which was, $10 more than your regular 40. But the weed was really good, so when you smoked it, you got really high. And so that was probably, and I don't know what kind. I called it rainbow, but looking back, it might have been some type of tie or something because it was just kind of brown and gold and green and red, and so I just used to call it rainbow weed, and that was probably the first, weed that I would call exotic or whatever, in the beginning, and then that's when the Sensi bud came out. We used to call it the Christmas tree scents, and it used to be $200 an ounce. So $200 an ounce back in 1982 was a lot of money. So you would be able to sell it for $10 a gram. So right, you get $280 off of an ounce. But in reality, what would happen was, you would smoke 8 grams and sell 20 grams to get your money back and get more. So, that's probably when I first started, buying and selling weed in high school just to, cover my own smoking expenses. And, you know, uh, so once I got out of high school, well, I should say when I was in high school, you know, the police told my father that they saw me uh, dealing pot and that they could have arrested me. And my father was a fireman, so he knew the police quite well. And so he pulled me aside and, read me the riot act, and that was probably my first brush with the law, if you want to call it. And then, once I graduated high school, then that following fall time, I attended a high school football game, and I sold an undercover cop a nickel bag, a $5 bag of weed. I was 18 at the time, and about a year and a half later, they came and knocked on my door with a warrant. And there's a funny story behind that because by that time I had, scaled up my operation and was buying pounds at the time. And, the cops came to my house, and my mother, she she kind of knew what was going on, and so I wasn't home, so she searched my room and found a pound of found the pound that I had, but it was all broken up into ounces. So she panicked and called my cousin's mother, and her and my sister and my cousin's mother took the weed and drove across town throwing ounces out the window. And then my cousin's mother came and found me and my cousin up at the mall where we were hanging out, and told us that the police were looking for me, and I had to go down to the police station and turn myself in. And that was the my first arrest. My father had to come and bail me out, and he told me, this is your one time, the first, only time I'm going to bail you out. You ever get arrested again, don't call me because I'm not going to bail you out. And so I never called him again, but I had gotten arrested um, many times after that. Um, so yeah, I just thought I'd just make this quick video, and uh, looking forward to promoting future events and stuff with the current situation of social media and Instagram and everyone that's starting to delete cannabis accounts. I thought that I had to start a new platform. So I'll be here every Sunday or every other Sunday telling stories of my experience and growing up in cannabis and some of my troubles and some of the stories that I experienced in New York City selling in Central Park and people that I knew and everything. So, please like the video, follow, and share. Till next time.